Hello and welcome to Bad Boy Cinema, your number one classic movie podcast. I'm your host, Rick Reel, and with me is, as always, my co-host, Elliot Film. Elliot, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
You're doing
I
good?
say pretty good today.
Just pretty good, not great.
I watched 2 Kung Fu Panda movies today, so
did I.
But I watched a third Kung Fu Panda movie 2 days ago, so I could never be a parent with this kind of attitude towards children's movies.
But you love like WALL-E and Moana and other movies for babies, so I thought this would be in your wheelhouse that we're watching baby movies.
That's true. Kids don't watch WALL-E all the time. They watch like Trolls World Tour 8 times a day.
That is true.
With, who's in that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Justin Timberlake.
He sings in it. Is he one of the trolls?
I'm sure he's one of the trolls. Who's Anna Kendrick is probably in it.
She's in it. Yeah. Oh, she's definitely in it.
Oh, she's definitely in that movie.
We definitely have to watch that movie.
We are not watching any of the Trolls movies.
I think, folks, if you want us to watch one of the Trolls movies, send us an email.
Send us an email. What's the email? badboycinemafanmail at gmail.com.
Yeah.
I'll check the email right now. I'll be honest. I haven't completely
I'm sure there's so many responses because we're a very successful podcast already. How many episodes in? It's a little hard to judge.
Okay, so we got one email.
All right.
Yeah, and it says, please review the Kung Fu Panda trilogy and hopefully the 4th one when it comes out. So,
well, how convenient. This real email that's in there.
This is from Mailer Damon, whatever that means.
Okay. But we are this episode. We are reviewing the first 3. I mean, reviewing is a strong word. I think we're just going to kind of have a little retrospection,
a little chit chat
on the original Kung Fu Panda trilogy, and then the following episode we will go to the theater and then watch the new Kung Fu Panda 4. And now let me look up the first Kung Fu Panda. I mean, all of these are starring Jack Black. Kung Fu Panda 1 was released in star-studded cast for sure. Released in 2008, and it. Who directed this? John S. and Mark O.
I see I'm on the Wikipedia page for Kung Fu Panda the franchise when I should be.
Same. It makes it a little more complicated for sure. The budget was $130 million and made $631.7 million in the box office, which is pretty good.
Domestic or international? Because the international stage is where it really shines.
It was probably overall, if I had to guess, but still did well.
Guessing on this show.
We got our friend of the podcast, one might say, Angelina Jolie is in all 3 of the movies.
Big Jolie head over here.
Yeah, I know you've been really wanting to get into a Angelina Jolie vehicle on this show after we did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I thought, well, the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, that'd be a great opportunity to get.
That's why you sent
Angelina Jolie. That's well.
I'm looking at this cast because as star-studded as this cast is, what an ensemble.
Yeah,
most people don't have any lines.
No, it's mostly Jack Black as Po, the Kung Fu
titular
Panda
character.
Yeah, and then Master Shifu, which is fun because Shifu is just like master. And
is this Chinese. Like what's
Dustin
that anime You know the anime. It's like the anime.
Like Naruto? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Greed the Avaricious.
Full Metal Alchemist?
Sure.
What about it?
It's like you put an English word next to a non-English word that mean the same thing, and it's cool. Like Tai Chi.
Avaricious is
Avaricious
also
just means,
English.
well, it's translated from the original Japanese, which I think is the Japanese character for greed, the greedy in English.
Oh, so he's like greed in if you were to translate it literally.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's pretty funny. I didn't
you
know
can't.
that. So
Yeah, and you can't like name the character in English Greed the Greedy, so they
they
changed
they
greedy to
they they, they
avaricious.
zhuzhed it up a little.
Yeah,
That Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's a pretty good show.
never seen it, never will.
You were able to pull
Yeah,
that
because
out
I
of your
learned
ass.
things about linguistics.
Okay. Right.
Master Shifu, Dustin Hoffman, incredible performance. Honestly, some of his best work.
He does great in all three films as Master
Mhm.
Chief. Although he does most of his work in the first one. And of
Yeah, he
course,
takes a bit of a back seat.
so Angelina Jolie is Tigress of the Furious Five. We also have Seth Rogen as the Mantis, Lucy Liu as Viper, and
Mhm.
David Cross, of course. A little tip of the hat to our favorite director,
Bob Odenkirk.
yeah, Bob Odenkirk. Yes,
Bob and
he's the
David about my
Crane,
two favorite directors.
and Jackie Chan is the monkey, and that's our cast. I
I'll
mean,
tell
those are
you,
the main characters.
didn't know it was Lucy Liu or Jackie Chan. They have so few voice lines in these
They
movies.
and like in the first movie, they give Jackie Chan like maybe literally a word.
Yeah,
He otherwise does not talk.
I mean he's doing a lot of sounds.
He's making monkey noises maybe, but he's not doing. Anyone could have done those noises, right?
Yeah.
And I will say, James Hong is as Mr. Ping, who's
He's
Poe's
killing it,
adopted
honestly.
father, which is that's a main character in
Yeah,
the
spoiler
trilogy for
alert,
sure.
he's adopted.
Yeah, I love that beat in the second movie where he's like just the running gag of him being like surprised that he's adopted by a bird when he's a panda. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good bit. I wouldn't say that this is a series that has a lot of great bits to get a little critical out of the gate here.
Yeah, it is a
It's
victim
dated.
of
It's dated.
I would say this is kind of like, I guess, Disney television or maybe early Nickelodeon sitcoms where it's just like, I'm going to do this right now after a nap. And it's like, it's a lot of the laziest misdirection of all time.
Disney. It is like Disney sitcom laugh track ass, writing. Yeah. No, yeah,
It's
that's
a
a good.
lot of the laziest misdirection in comedy.
I'll say the third one doesn't have that problem as much. I mean, it came out
I
in
agree.
2016. And I think the humor in the second one, which I think came out 2011,
That's correct.
That one felt to me the most dated. I hated the humor in the second one. There wasn't a whole lot of it. It was, I feel like, a bit more of a serious, more serious film. But I think the first one's very solid, very well rounded. Ian McShane as Tai Lung, who's the villain, and the former student of Master Shifu. I thought he was, pretty compelling. I thought, they did a good job there.
Yeah. I like the first one.
Yeah.
I like the third one as well.
See, well, and I had a feeling you would like the third one more than me, whereas I like the second one probably the most, which I think probably tracks.
Yeah.
Because the second one's a lot. I would say it's. I wouldn't say dark, but it's certainly darker than the other two. and in my opinion has the most interesting and fun. Well, maybe fun's not the right word, but interesting villain. Um, but again, I think the first one's the most well-rounded, much like Poe himself, most well-rounded of the three.
I mean, I could see that, and I think I don't know. I like the Peacock as a villain. It's just like it's a lot of the same. I will say garbage. He's just like, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you again. And it's like, I get it, do something else with your time.
Well, he had to. Well, I mean, based on the plot, we'll get to that, I guess, when we get to the second one. But I really didn't like J.K. Simmons's character, whoever Kai, whatever his full name was, the villain of the third film. I thought he was stupid. It just felt like the third one felt like they wanted to end the Kung Fu Panda franchise on like a nice note.
Yeah.
And then with the knowledge that a fourth one is coming and the franchise isn't over, it feels weird. And it feels like throughout the series, it's like Poe starts out, pretty weak. Not the power scale. I don't like power scaling, but he starts out pretty weak and ends the first movie pretty good at stuff. Like he's still kind of goofy and clumsy.
He knows the Wuxi hold, which nobody else on Earth knows, just him and Master Shifu. Which
like
a little strange.
It's weird that he's people talk about Mary Sue's in fiction, and I wouldn't say that Poe necessarily qualifies as that, but he's very overpowered for seemingly no reason at all. Just like
he's
his natural ability. Of course, right, but like. I think the idea in the first movie is that anyone could have been the Dragon Warrior. I think that was kind of the message, right?
Yeah.
And so to have Poe end up in the second movie, not as much, but definitely the third movie, where he just like is literally the chosen one.
Yeah.
And kind of Jesus by the third movie. It felt weird.
This franchise has like a real tough time managing he's the chosen one, but also he's like a real goofy, clumsy and like this is not my words, this is their words. He's real fat and therefore bad. Jack Black kind of has a love-hate relationship with fat phobia, and I think that's encapsulated. That's encapsulated in these films because he's owning it in some regards. Where he's, skadooshing people off his belly. And you're like, wow, fat people can do things.
Fat people can skadoosh, and only fat people.
But then, anytime there is a single stare in the movie, he throws up 6 times. And then every villain is just like, that's the Dragon Warrior, but he's fat.
Yeah, it is. It tries to have its cake and eat it too, with the fat jokes that also being like, but it's also fine. It's also good, but we are going to make fun of it.
He has no idea what he's doing, and he's just kind of stumbling into doing good stuff in Kung Fu. But also, it's like he's stronger than all of them in some regards. But like he doesn't know Kung Fu, he can't teach them anything. But also, he can beat everybody by himself.
Well, what's so weird is that in the beginning of the second movie, it definitely establishes him as being further along in his training, and he's like relatively competent, maybe too competent, but like he doesn't really have a whole lot of fluctuation in his power in the second movie up until he like learns the inner piece ability to like redirect fucking cannonballs. Other than that, he doesn't really, and that's set up throughout the movie, the inner piece, and they kind of show that in a way that I thought was fine. But then the third movie, he's like promoted to being teacher for no reason, and he also seems dumber and worse at things. Like,
that's true. I mean, he was promoted to be teacher, I guess, as a bit or as a way to teach him that he doesn't know everything that he thinks he knows. or something.
I mean, it's a way for him to grow, right? Like, because he might have. I mean, does he have the combat stuff? And also, there's no fighting in the third movie. It seems there's very little.
Yeah,
Good fight scenes, which I enjoyed in the first two movies. I think the second movie has exceptionally well choreographed little fights. I think it's pretty good. But the third movie, it's like the little Jade dudes fighting people, and it looks great. The third movie looks incredible.
Yeah, the animation.
They definitely
step up.
Also pioneering like future aesthetics for other animated films and DreamWorks DreamWorks as well as other because I think Into the Spider-Verse probably got a little bit of that Kung Fu Panda 3 spice,
Yeah, I would believe that.
Which then came back to the second Puss in Boots movie, The Last Wish, it's a great film. I think you'd enjoy it. Because it is.
I tried to watch it one time.
It's pretty good.
I was at a hotel and they had it for rent at a kiosk in the lobby, and I rented it. And then I think my wife wanted to get dinner, so we did not watch it. And it was a one-day rental, which I think is a little bit baloney.
Yeah.
We were only staying there one day anyway, but it would have been nice to know that I could have had it a second day if possible.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda. I like the third one. I think honestly, credit where credit is due. Gay icons, two dads.
I did like that they. I wouldn't say ship teased. But they definitely end up embracing that Poe has two dads. He has to explain it further for the audience who might not be up on their Kung Fu Panda. He's adopted by the goose, whose name is what's his name again?
Poe's dad, Mr. Ping.
Mr. Ping, the goose, and then his actual father,
Li Shen,
who's voiced by Bryan Cranston.
Some of his best work as well.
Also, yeah, he surprisingly like a lot of celebrity actors in doing voices in movies are usually kind of like not great.
Very Chris Pratt-esque.
Yeah, but I feel like everybody does a really good job with Kung Fu Panda, and they just all happen to be celebrities,
Yeah.
We'll see if that plays out on the fourth one, but
I don't really want to give that much credit to Seth Rogen, but he does fine.
He does fine.
He's Seth Rogen, I think he was better in Aliens vs. Monsters. Also, one of the highest star-studded casts of all time in any film.
Really?
Aliens vs. Monsters. I mean, you want to go on a little...
No, I mean, we're talking about Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, but let's
Kung Fu Panda 3. We don't need to take this detour.
Okay. I'll just do it for me.
Yeah, you can go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, so the
Folks
first movie...
Look it up.
Yeah. The first movie, the leopard guy, the villain, he wants the Dragon Scroll. The Dragon Scroll, which is just a piece of reflective paper.
Yep.
Because that's how you are the Dragon Warrior. It's inside of you, right?
Yeah.
He's too full of hubris to understand, and then he gets like killed, right?
Yeah, he gets whooshy finger holded to death.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like Poe has a kill count, which is because I don't think he doesn't really kill the villain of the second movie. The stakes are higher in the second movie for sure.
Yeah, what I love about the second movie is it's part of the film canon of movies where the villain just has a conveyor belt directly into a fire.
He does, yeah.
I don't know. Why is that so common in movies that's just what villains do?
It adds tension. They have, they tie women to train tracks, and they have conveyor belts that go right into a big cauldron of some kind of hot thing.
just
Is it
lava,
fire, lava,
fire.
metal,
Yeah.
chemicals? You can't
At
forget
least,
chemicals.
James Bond has the decency to have like a laser. Like they're,
Yeah.
it's an attack. This is just like, oh yeah, part of my dojo is a conveyor belt.
Well, I mean, he was using the big. I mean, you're being
Yeah.
kind of glib because
I
it's a
am being
big
glib.
cauldron of metal because he's making like weapons of mass destruction for anthropomorphic
Peacocks.
whatever period of China that is.
Peahens. I don't know.
But yeah, Peacock guy was crazy. He's like, oh,
Gary
because
Oldman, honestly,
great job.
great job.
Again, every voice acting wise. And again, I don't know if we'll be able to say this for the fourth one, and you know why I hesitant. I'm not going to name names, but
okay.
Aquafina's in the fourth one, and I don't like.
I see that now.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, we might, the trend of good Kung Fu Panda voice acting might come to an end with the fourth one, but Gary Oldman does a great job as Shen.
I had to look it up,
Peacock.
honestly. I was like, this is familiar, but he's doing so much acting.
He's got a little accent on.
He's like got a rasp and he's like whispering.
Yeah, he's crazy in it. He's crazy good. But the peacock, the movie begins with the peacock having a prophecy told to him about a warrior of black and white would be his downfall. And so his like, yes, the obvious conclusion, and this is maybe the part of the second movie I don't love too much because it's a little ridiculous. He's like, I'm just going to genocide the pandas.
Yeah.
And then he misses one, but he actually ends up missing a lot more than one.
Yeah.
In the according to the third movie, which I get why they did that, because again, if the third movie is we're ending the franchise, then I think sure, let's just have him find his family in Secret Panda Village in the mountains. But if they were going to have more movies,
but they set it up at the end of 2. They set up at the end of 2. Yeah, the last shot of Kung Fu Panda 2 is pandas, like farming or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Once the like credits started rolling, I was like, oh, I gotta get to the next one.
I need
these hour and a half long films, which are great. The runtimes on these fantastic.
Yeah.
They don't really waste any time.
89-minute film.
Yeah, it's brisk. But I love in the second movie that I don't love that he genocides the pandas, but Shen genocides the pandas, except that he doesn't end up doing it. He kills a bunch of them, and then he goes back to his parents and he's like, "Wasn't that great?" And they're like, "No. Like get out, you freak." And then the whole movie, he's just like, "Man, my parents really fucking hated me." They're like, "No, they didn't. I mean, you did something bad." Like they were pretty nice about it. It's kind of valid, all things considered.
I didn't like that they were trying to do like a sweet moment where they're fighting at the end or close to the end. And Poe says like scars heal. And it's like a comedic bit of like, no, wounds heal, scars are different. You don't know about that stuff because you're an idiot. And it's like that could have been like a sweet moment.
I thought it was.
You got to teach these kids a little genuinity.
Well, I like that moment because I thought it was it was representing their different perspectives on the same thing and why they went in two very different directions. Where, Poe is a well-adjusted, normal fat guy, and you can't forget fat with
you cannot.
The movies don't let you. And of course, in the third movie, you're like, damn, he's not even really that fat compared to some of the other pandas.
And they tell you about that too.
Yeah. Again, it's very like borderline uncomfortable. And then, and then Shen is just like a deranged lunatic who, lost everything in pursuit of, making sure the prophecy doesn't come true. And then, of course, through his own actions,
enacts the prophecy.
He was the warrior in black and white the whole time.
Whoa.
Which I mean, you know, it was neat. I liked it.
I don't know. I'm kind of coming around to the second movie.
Now that I'm talking about it.
Yeah. Now that I'm actually critically thinking about the third movie.
The third movie's kind of bad. But I wonder what the people think about the third movie, because it's just, and again, the fight scenes in the first one are pretty good. I think they're elevated in the second one, and then there's almost none in the third movie.
Yeah.
Like the final fight is just like Poe using
he's a dragon
chi powers. He's not even a dragon. That would have been cooler. He's like in a dragon hologram and just kind of like flying around and saying Ski-DOOSH. There's so many Ski-DOOSHs in the third movie.
They figured out what was wrong with the first two.
That's why I was like, when he said because he basically says it, somebody else says it. And I think it was like a one Ski-DOOSH per film.
Yeah.
Or in the first two, right? Like one or two. Definitely only one in the second movie.
There was only one in the first one, and I missed it the first time I watched it, and I was livid.
And in the third movie, they get the Ski-DOOSH out early on because they have a different character who's pretending to be Poe as like a bit, say Ski-DOOSH, and I'm like, oh, haha, like that's it, right? Yeah. That's the one. So we're done with that. And then he says it like a million fucking times throughout the movie, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they cracked the code. That's why nobody liked the first two. That's why they had to do a third one when they perfected the script.
So I'm just going to look at Rotten Tomatoes for these, but Kung Fu Panda 1 has an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's pretty good. Kung Fu Panda 2 has an 81, which makes sense, Kung Fu Panda 3 also has an 87.
Now I'm back on Kung Fu Panda 3. What a great film. Honestly, it's just as good as the first one. I've always said that. They got a lot going on in the Kung Fu Panda verse. I didn't realize.
I love the lore of Kung Fu Panda. And also there's like TV shows and shit.
Yeah, there's 4 short films. There's 3 TV shows. There's a television holiday special. There's a Kung Fu Panda play. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Kung Fu Panda video games. That's and
a whole expansion of World of Warcraft is Kung Fu Panda as well, if I recall correctly.
And I can't be Poe in Fortnite. What's going on, Epic Games?
Well, I mean, they might let you be Poe in Fortnite in like, I don't know, 2 weeks after we record this. So
that's pretty true. I can be Lady Gaga, but I can't Ski-DOOSH a whooshy finger hold. Come on, get it together.
They're gonna do a Fortnite collab with Kung Fu Panda where you get to be Tigress, you get to be like buff Poe, like when they did buff Peter Griffin.
Yeah,
to get around like the hitbox issue. They're gonna do buff Poe, and they'll add the whatever the Tai Lung,
Master Oogway.
They're not adding Master Oogway. Maybe as an NPC, but those will be the 3 characters you can play as in Fortnite. And then when you're around the map, you'll find your loot boxes, right? And there's like a special chance that you get the whooshy finger hold. And then if you use it within like melee range,
it's like a knife.
They just die.
Does Fortnite have knives?
So sometimes, yeah, they have.
Okay. They should
when
definitely
they do collabs with. They should. The game would go viral. They should
definitely add knives.
Well, you have your pickaxe, right? But then
yes.
when they do collabs with different franchises, like when they're doing Star Wars shit, you can get a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then I think right now they have like a
finger hold.
Exactly. Yeah, they do weird stuff
on
like
Epic Games.
Collabs. So yeah, they could do that.
Who's the
like a Jade Blast, which isn't really a thing. Yeah. They can do the Jade guys, cool little hatchet things. Those were
hell yeah.
Those were cool. The third movie.
I mean, they're not going to do anything from the third movie, presumably.
I'm shocked that the third movie, like I feel like I missed something that everybody. So IMDb has it a 7.1, and the Metacritic is 66. Okay, so Kung Fu Panda 2, marginally higher on IMDb and Metacritic than Kung Fu Panda 3, and then
yeah, but we don't trust
Kung Fu Panda 1 seems to be best, but yeah, it's just I don't see the appeal of the third one. It just seems they're trying to do way too much in one movie. You know,
it is
it's the arc of Po learning to be a teacher and not just just a dragon warrior. He was also teaching and also learning the chi stuff, and then also finding his family, and then also the friction between finding his family and people, and then the adoptive dad thing, which it felt like they were taking a step backwards, at least at the start of the third movie, compared to the stuff that they went over in the second movie, because they kind of retread that ground a little bit.
Yeah.
Which maybe doesn't feel like that if you watch them in 2011 and then 2016, but you watch them back to back on the same day, there's a disconnect. And there's just like the fight scene sucked, and the villain was he just made jokes, and they weren't funny jokes.
Yeah, he was just
a little silly and had like no. He was just like, I just want to be more powerful for.
I want chi, and I
did. Like, I want chi, and that's what he wanted when he was killed the first time when Master Oogway iced him.
Yeah, but then he had Oogway's little jade stone, which did he use?
He never used. No. There's there's a lot of stuff going on, and I don't think
that's a real setup from the beginning of like, I'm in the spirit realm and I got Oogway and a jade stone. I could throw him out anywhere. And he's just like throwing out masters from all over China that you've never heard of. Oh, Master Yak. He did the thing that one. I was like, who is this guy?
If he was gonna he should have used the chi of fallen people from the previous movies. If they're gonna do, just
he should have been
random
Tai Lung.
Yeah,
he didn't get Tai Lung. He didn't get Tai Lung's chi. To be fair, Po got a body on him, and Po iced him.
Shen iced himself, so I don't think he goes to the spirit. I don't know how accidental suicide works, and in Kung Fu in China, essentially.
Did Oogway? Would you say that he suicided himself, or would you say that is?
It feels like natural causes.
He just knew
he's so time. Old. Because I mean, was at least 500 years old.
Yeah.
So which is a long time.
It's true. He was a grand master.
How is a turtle good at kung fu though?
Yeah, that staff.
Yeah, the staff was pretty sick. It was cool that Po got the staff.
Yeah.
The cool chi one. You know how all the movies do kind of a slow motion thing? And I know it's like kind of a reference to real kung fu movies.
Yeah.
I don't hate that in actual kung fu movies. I didn't like it in any of these. Yeah, I think it was only used for comedy, and it never worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I mean, we're not the target demographic for these films. I don't know that a single joke hit in the trilogy.
I think some of them did.
I feel like you're as much the target demographic as me.
And what makes you say that?
Intuition.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I do. I like the joke where
kung fu.
I do love kung fu. I like the joke in the second one where Poe's opening up the tigers. Which, by the way, did you think that the films were trying to make you think that they were gonna be a thing at some point? Not a lot. At least in the second one, I was like, are they gonna do upcoming
boat.
Tigris
In
ship.
the third one, when they're in
The
the
third
boat,
one was
right?
a no. No, the second one was when they're in the boat.
Yeah, that's right. When she was about to open up to him, and
About
that would have
something.
been, yeah. I
Who
mean,
knows? Who
who
knows what?
knows?
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have a sincere moment.
What it sure would have.
I mean, like, if you want a character to grow, you can't just have a montage where they get beat up in a training simulation and then all of a sudden he's like throwing his hat, chopping chains or whatever he does.
Yeah.
You know?
Eating some dumplings and some noodles because he's so fat.
Yeah, he does
And don't
that a
you
lot.
forget it. Do not forget that he's fat.
They
he loves
do
to
love
eat
to,
that.
yeah. And he had quite an epiphany in the third one where he realized he can just eat with his hands. That was like the biggest thing he learned in that movie.
Like they made him stupid in the third movie. Like again, I don't get the third movie's appeal. Other than the animation looks really good, which it does. But now in the second movie, I did think he had some sort of serious moments compared to the other two. The second movie was also just more serious in tone in general because they had genocide as a topic.
Yeah. Which, you know, good for you, I guess.
I'm like, damn, that goes crazy.
Go off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the I don't know. I think these movies are very predictable. Can we just be honest about the films? They're very predictable and not funny. The acting is like very good. You got to have a little bit more Tigris in the films, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's my takeaway.
I'm hoping we get some more Tigris in the fourth movie. But I liked that she had a little bit more content in the second one. And I mean the third. She's kind of like the, you know, if the two main characters are Shifu and Poe, she's like the third.
Yeah.
In all of them, depending on how you count the antagonists. But yeah, I mean, the joke I did find funny though, to get back to that, was when Poe was like, I just found out that, like, I'm adopted, and she's like, your dad like the goose, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, that must have been really tough for you.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like say it in like a mean way. She's just like, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Angelina, she's a professional. The tip of my hat to Angelina. She really nailed that line read. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Voice acting. I mean, this cast, the more I look at it, I mean, you got Kyle Gass in here in the first one.
You got everybody.
You got
almost.
Name a person. I guarantee you they're in this movie. Shiloh Jolie Pitt in this movie.
Seth Rogen. Well, we know Seth Rogen's in it.
Al Roker. Did you know Al Roker was in this film?
No, I didn't. Who is he?
Pat. He is Dim.
Oh,
he's in the third one as
third
Dim.
One, yeah. Dim and Sum, the cousins, I think, or something.
Yeah, they're Poe's cousins. You got Pax Jolie Pitt, Knox Jolie Pitt, Zahara Jolie Pitt. Oh
wait, they got the kids? Or were they like various kids in the third one?
Yeah.
Oh, I might like the third one.
You got 4 Jolie Pitts.
That's cute, actually.
Yu, Cuckoo, Meng Meng, and Shuai Shuai.
Oh wait, was the baby one that was hanging out with Tigris in the third movie, was that actually one of
that's Angelina's
one of them, kids?
Yeah. I don't know that character's name, but
yeah, the one who kept playing with the
Stripey baby.
Yeah, Stripey. I was like, I don't like the kids. Like, I mean, the cute pandas are fun, right? I'm like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
cute pandas, but I was like, okay, we don't need like goofy kids. But then that little girl would come and be like, oh, stripey baby, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Now
this
I'm kind
kid
of
might
getting what this
rock,
movie's up
dude.
to. I'm like,
Yeah, when I said I liked the third one, that's what I was thinking about.
well, and then I liked in the fights in the like one fight scene at the end where it's human people fighting. I mean, half of
Yeah.
them were they're all animals, but they're fighting the jade spirit zombie things. Tigress holding the baby and like doing the fight
Yeah.
choreography, and then like getting the baby to like get in, throw in a couple smacks, and then I thought that was fun. I like that.
I mean,
and it's a lot funnier if that's actually her kid doing the voice. Like that's sweet.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
You got Kate Hudson in this movie for seemingly no reason.
Who is she?
She's May, the ribbon
I
gymnast.
didn't care for May.
She's like trying to do some kind of romantic plot for like no
You pose
reason.
like no. I'm like, yeah, it's because you're into Tigress.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and we'll see in the fourth, maybe.
Who knows?
I'd love
maybe him and Aquafina.
Aquafina's a fox. In the fourth one. I mean, I hear the villain's a girl chameleon, which that could be.
Oh, that's the villain. I did.
According to, I don't know, like trailers or whatever.
The presses. As Viola Davis.
Yes,
big fan.
I'm hopeful that I'll have fun at the fourth one, and maybe with it being almost a decade, 8 years after the last one, maybe the humor will have kind of caught up, and it won't say skadoosh at all. I mean, they can get one. I'll give them one. You get one skadoosh. Ideally 0.
Yeah, I think you got them all out in the third one. I think they realized like skadoosh is kind of aging out of the ether right now.
Yeah. The kids who are going to be seeing Kung Fu Panda 4 have never heard of skadoosh. I feel like a lot of the DNA of this movie is like, what if we did Nacho Libre, but China, and animals?
Yeah,
it feels like that a little bit. And I think skadoosh is in a little Nacho Libre DNA, which
great film.
I can't. I've seen like 75% of it. I think
I saw it once in theaters when it came out.
It was okay.
I remember almost nothing. Michael Cera's in that movie, which I didn't realize.
He is?
Michael Cera's in that. And he was also in Year One with Jack Black. So they're basically best friends. Why isn't Michael Cera in Kung Fu Panda 4?
Maybe he will be. We just, maybe that's a cool surprise.
A little cameo.
Yeah.
That's fine. Any final thoughts on the series? Any hopes for Kung Fu Panda 4? I
mean, I hope they can go back to the action sequences in 4 for 4 that they had in the first 2 films. I think the animation quality of the third was great, and I'm sure it's only gotten better. So I'd love to see that kind of into the Spider-Verse sort of vaguely adjacent animation style with the great action of the Kung Fu Panda franchise. I'd love to see those together. But overall, I think it's a silly, fun time. The current trilogy. It's fun. I like it. I like hanging out in the Kung Fu Panda world.
Yeah.
The stories themselves are not going to blow you out of the water, and the humor is hit or miss. Maybe that might be a nice way of putting it. But I think it's fun, and the movies are short, so you can just kind of throw one on. If you have a kid or something, I think it's probably they can learn what skadoosh is before you see it in the theater.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory to watch the original theatrical trailer for the first one before you see any of them.
It's so true, because it's like you're like, oh yeah, Skadoosh is his catchphrase, and then it's not for the first
Skadoosh
two
is like,
movies. And then they like dug up the trailer when they were making the third one. They're like, oh fuck, we forgot. we forgot his catchphrase.
Yeah. They're like, let's go back to our roots. And they see that and they're like, we have drastically underplayed our hand.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be taking notes at the theater. I'm gonna be counting those Skadooshes.
Yeah, preferably 0. Maybe as like a
tip of the hat to the audience.
A tip of the hat at like a post-credit scene kind of.
Skadoosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe imagine how terrible it's going to be when Aquafina's character says Skadoosh. And you know that's going to happen. If someone's saying Skadoosh, Aquafina's saying it, and it's going to be
I don't know what Aquafina's deal is, but I feel like she has this way of like meta-izing things that she's in. Like, she's the kind of character who comes in and will be like, do you say skadoosh yet? Like, isn't that your thing? Don't you do that? Don't you say skadoosh? Like, you skadoosh around, you're skadooshing all the time. Like, that's kind of her vibe to say it like 8 times.
This is gonna actually happen in the movie. It's gonna be so bad. Or I hope she says it. She's like, she's trying to impress Jack Black's character, Poe, and she'll like be like, "Oh yeah, skadoosh," and he's like, I don't know. Nah. Like, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, she has a way of like acknowledging the trilogy. I don't know. You know what I mean? I can't think of a specific example.
Is she gonna do like a Family Guy cutaway gag? It's just like, this reminds me of a time when Emperor Shen.
Remember when Master Shifu said skadoosh? Yeah.
Family Guy cutaway gags in just being the whole of Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah, we need
they cut away to more interesting little jokes. If that was all the jokes, if it's like serious plot, and then Aquafina's like, "Oh, do you remember the time when we did this?" And then it's not even her, and it's like, "Oh, do you know when Tigress, got drunk?"
Yeah.
And
how are they gonna modernize it? Are they gonna have like a Kung Fu Panda TikTok? Is that gonna be a bit that they do? They're gonna do the renegade.
Are they gonna have like a Brad Pitt tiger?
Yeah,
that's like bad as like a side character. He's like in cahoots with the
community. They remake like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but with tigers.
That would kind of rule, honestly.
I would love that movie.
Kung Fu Tigress. They make a Kung Fu Tigress spinoff.
Yeah, and Mr. and Mrs. Tigress.
And they're like, there's going to be a villain who's also a tiger, and you'll find out who it is when we release the movie. But you won't be recording your lines in the same spot, which just to preserve that surprise. And they're like, surprise, it's Brad Pitt. I would see that. That'd be a good movie. They should give me the Kung Fu Panda IP, and I'll cook up something wild. And we're gonna make Tigress the main character.
DreamWorks, are you listening?
That. We need a Tigress spinoff.
I agree. Honestly, I am here for more Jolie content. Picked up Wanted recently. Picked up Salt. Picked up Tomb Raider. I'm working my way. Yeah. Picked up Girl Interrupted. That's a Jolie banger. Anyway, Kung Fu Panda 4. It's coming. See it or don't. Probably don't. But
at least wait for us to give our opinion.
DreamWorks, hit us up and maybe I'll change that. Probably don't. Think about it.
Delete the episode, re-upload it, and say probably.
Think about it, John DreamWorks.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. All right. That's the episode. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Kung Fu Panda 4 next week.